Judge Anthony Trenga tried to silence Pam Bondi by threatening her with jail, but what she revealed next left the entire courtroom and the country stunned. The federal courthouse in Alexandria buzzed with anticipation as Judge Anthony Trenga entered courtroom 14A. At 63, Trenga had earned a reputation for running a tight ship. But today, something felt different. The air crackled with tension as media representatives packed the gallery, sensing drama ahead. The case involved allegations of prosecutorial misconduct in a politically charged investigation. At the center stood Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General, now lead defense counsel. Her reputation for tenacity had made her both allies and enemies across the political spectrum. Trenga's usual stern expression had hardened into open hostility. He shuffled papers with unnecessary force, his jaw clenched as he reviewed the day's proceedings. Veteran Balis recognized the signs. The judge was spoiling for a fight. The court will now hear arguments on the defense motion to dismiss, Trina announced, his voice carrying an edge that made attorneys exchange worried glances. Ms. Bondi, you may proceed, though I must warn you that this court has little patience for theatrical grandstanding. The warning shot was fired before Bondi had even spoken. She rose from the defense table with fluid grace, her navy suit impeccable, blonde hair pulled back professionally. At 59, Bondi had weathered political storms that would have destroyed lesser figures. Thank you, Your Honor, Bondi replied smoothly, her floor to draw barely perceptible. The defense respectfully submits that the charges against our client lack the fundamental legal foundation required under Mrs. Bondi, Trenga interrupted sharply, leaning forward like a predator. Are you seriously going to waste valuable time with procedural technicalities? This court is well aware of your reputation for creative interpretations of legal standards. The insult hung in the air like smoke. Seasoned observers knew judges occasionally sparred with attorneys, but Trenga's tone carried personal venom that went beyond normal judicial sternness. Several reporters scribbled furiously, sensing the opening volleys of an epic confrontation. Bondi paused briefly, her blue eyes meeting Trenga's hostile stare without flinching. Your Honor, I believe the court may be conflating zealous advocacy with impropriety. The defense motion is based on well-established precedent from this very district. Don't lecture me about precedent in my own courtroom, Trenga snapped, color rising in his cheeks. I've been practicing law since before you were elected to your first political office. Your history of bending rules to serve political masters is well documented. The accusation was so brazen that even the prosecution team looked uncomfortable. Defense attorney Michael Harrison half rose from his chair before thinking better of it. The gallery buzzed with whispered conversations as observers realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Bondi remained motionless at the podium, her expression neutral despite the inflammatory comments. Years of political combat had taught her the value of composure under fire. When she spoke, her voice carried no trace of anger. Your Honor, perhaps we could focus on the legal merits of the motion, rather than engaging in personal characterizations. The defendant's constitutional rights deserve consideration based on law, not politics. The subtle rebuke only inflamed Trenga further. His knuckles widened as he gripped the bench, a slight tremor in his hands suggesting barely controlled rage. The morning had only begun, but battle lines were already drawn in what promised to be a confrontation that would reverberate far beyond courtroom 14A. Judge Tanga's face had taken on a dangerous mottled red hue. He leaned back in his chair, eyes never leaving Bondi's composed figure. The silence stretched for 30 seconds before he launched his next assault. Ms. Bondi, your reputation precedes you, Trina began, voice dripping with disdain. This court has reviewed your recent filings, and I'm appalled by what I can only describe as systematic manipulation of these proceedings through procedural gamesmanship and media theatrics. The accusations struck like thunder. Attorneys in the gallery exchanged stunned looks while court reporters typed furiously. Even the prosecution team appeared visibly uncomfortable with the judge's inflammatory rhetoric. Bondi remained perfectly still, hands resting lightly on the podium. She had faced hostile judges before, but Trenga's behavior went far beyond normal judicial skepticism. This felt personal and dangerously unprofessional. "Your Honor," she replied evenly, "I'm not certain what specific aspects of our filings concern the court." "Perhaps if you could identify." "Don't play games with me," Trina snarled, cutting her off. "Your entire approach reeks of the same political manipulation that characterized your Florida tenure. Filing frivolous motions, making inflammatory press statements, attempting to turn this courtroom into a circus for your own arrondissement." The judge paused dramatically, fingers drumming against the bench in a staccato rhythm echoing through the silent courtroom. When he continued, his voice dropped to a menacing whisper that nonetheless carried to every corner. "I want to be absolutely clear, Counselor. This is not some political rally where you can grandstand for cameras. This is a federal courtroom, and I will not tolerate any attorney making a mockery of judicial proceedings under my watch." Trenga's voice began rising again, building toward a climactic